Welcome to Talks with the Invisible Gardener. I'm Andy Lopez, your host. This is where we dig into soil health and learn how to grow smarter organically. Ready to clean up your garden and the planet? Let's go. Don't panic, it's organic. Hi everybody, Andy Lopez here, Invisible Gardener. Today I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite things that I love doing, and that is making compost. And I'm going to tell you how you can make the best compost. That's what we're going to do today. So sit down. You may get your other gardening friends to come along and watch this, because compost is the most important thing you can do in your garden is make the best compost. Seriously. So I started off in I actually started in the 6th grade, but it wasn't making compost then. I don't remember making compost until I got out of service, and then I started making compost. So I don't remember what I did. I think as a kid, I would get soil. I wasn't really calling it compost those days. I was getting the best soil that I could get. And I remember going to farmers' places and get their manure that was already used up. And so that was kind of like compost also. And so, but I started doing that very, very early, because that's the most important thing you can do to your soil is to make compost. People think that making compost is a recycling thing, right? And it's just one of the benefits of recycling. But compost, the reason why I make compost is to make it as a healing ointment for the soil. I want to bring the soil biology back, and that's one of the best ways to do that, because compost is a living organism, billions and billions of living organisms, which you get good at making this stuff, right? So let me just see if I can get this to move. There it is. So it's all about the soil biology. We talk a lot about that, right? You know, all the different microbes, the fungi, the earthworms. And so I found a long time ago that there were a couple of things that when I started to do my business that I really need to do. And of course, I talk a lot about having a worm farm, right? Because that's an easy way to start getting soil biology into the soil by getting earthworm liquid, which is full of soil biology. But the best way is to combine the two, the way Mother Nature makes it, and the way she makes it is by making compost. And the compost is always underground. Once it gets made, it gets sort of buried and get covered in, and returns to the soil. It's part of the underground society there. So today I'm going to cover some things for you in terms of ways that you can make your compost. It depends a lot on where you live. I myself, I've had the pleasure of being in both types of places. A place where I can make compost with those bins like you see here now, or places where I can make compost in piles. In piles, you need a lot more room, a lot more space to be able to make a pile. And a pile, for me, I'm 6 foot, so it has to be at least 6 foot high and maybe 12, 13, 14 feet wide. Whereas these bins here, the ideal size of the bins is 4 by 4 by 4, 4 by 4 high, 4 wide, 4 depth, and you put a lid on it. These don't have a lid. I make mine with a lid on them. As you notice, if you look at these bins, these things here slide out. They slide out so you can work your way in. When I first started doing this, I made the bins that way. You have to go in there and try to dig them out. This doesn't work. So I eventually made it so exactly that. Very, very clever. You make it so that the plywood, the sheets of the wood go right in there, the planks of the wood, and then you can take them out as you fill it up or as you need to get into it. This one here has 3 bins, and I would add one thing to this, is that 3 bins are good, but you also need another bin in the very end when it's done. So normally the way it works is that you have the very first bin, and the first bin is where you put everything together in, right? That's the very first bin. That's the only place that you add anything raw to it. It's the only place that you add anything to it other than maybe water, a few other things. It goes in there. And how fast that bin gets filled up, because you take kitchen waste, you layer it. Layering is a really good idea because it gives you some idea as to the relationship of all these parts together, because they're very important. You have too much of one over it counteracts the other one to the point where it doesn't work. They both have it's called a carbon to nitrogen ratio. If you want to be, but you don't have to worry too much about that, because if you do it just by feel, you will get it to where you'll be heating your compost up. And the reason why it's 4 by 4 by 4 by 4 by, right, is because you have to have a certain amount of space, area for your compost to heat up. Otherwise, it won't get hot enough, and you will be getting. If you have a diseased tomato, say you put in your compost pile, and if you don't heat it up enough, that compost will have the disease in it as well. That's one of the advantages of doing piles, because you do get it hot. You're supposed to get over 211 degrees Fahrenheit. Too hot, and you have ashes. And so what goes with when you do a layer, you basically want to try that dry leaves and browns, right? We talk about green and brown when you're making compost. The brown already dried products like the dry leaves or the brown leaves or twigs. And green is always like fresh grass clippings and fresh leaves. These are can be very fast acting. They basically have a certain amount of nitrogen and so forth. Whereas the brown is the food, is basically the carbon that's needed by the bacteria. So you put the carbon together with the biology, and each of these layers have different mineral content to them. The clean soil is probably the weakest in mineral content because it's soil. It should have some mineral content in it, right? But normally you want to add minerals to your soil. Biochar is very rich in a variety of minerals, right? Aged animal manure will, of course, have a wide variety of minerals as well as biological biology, right? It depends on the age of the manure. Rock dust is something I've been promoting for years. I was going to say for thousands of years, and rock dust is the source of minerals. And I get 14 different types. I don't know if I get 14 now. I think probably down to maybe 7. A lot of times these rock dust companies disappear. The source doesn't disappear. It's the company that sells them disappears. So you want to get it from different parts of the world. It costs more to have them shipped now. So you should be lucky you can get it from, just say, in the United States or wherever country you're in. Just look for local sources of rock dust. Alfalfa meal is another excellent plant-based nitrogen, but it also has the right biology that you want to put into your compost. And this shows you the pallets and how they're being constructed a little bit. It makes it easier for people to see how they would work. Again, the front slice in and out, so you get it. And this one has a lid on it. Lid's very, very nice. I think you'll find that most cities would like it that way, so the animals don't get into it. Other things you may want to do was this setup is to keep animals from coming in. In the very bottom, for example, you should have a screen, a gopher wire in the very, very bottom, so keep animals from digging in there. It depends on where in the country you live at, what kind of animals will get into it. The problem with making this type of compost is, in the very first bin, animals will know if there's something in there that needs to be that they want to eat. The way I solved that problem where I lived one of the places I lived, there was every time I put anything in there to compost, because remember the first bin is where you want to put the raw vegetables and stuff like that. Animals would break into it, so I blended it. I would put it in my blender, whipped it up, and just pour it in there, and that solved my problem. And it speeded up the process as well. So there's always ways around this. So the bins are very good, useful to do. This again, you see 4 by 4, right? And it's very airy. Normally you put it up on pallets. So it has an airflow from the bottom. The more airflow, I says here, more airflow is essential for decomposition. See, so you want the air to go in there. It's oxygen. The biology really loves oxygen. Okay, and the more happier there are, the more that we'll break it down for. This is actually a good earthworm farm setup. The only difference with doing this up is that you'll be using the earthworms to compost. That means you couldn't be really taking it out and using it. You have to just basically be feeding the worms for the rest of their life, because they would eat the stuff, and they'll produce very little bit on the bottom, but not enough that you can go into using in large quantities. I myself, what I use my worms is for the liquid. But if you use it this way, you will have a lot of worms, but you either have to run some water to it and figure out a way to catch the water, and you can use it for liquids. But if you're using the worms, if you put normally you don't put worms in your compost bins, okay? Normally you don't. You remember you want the compost to heat up. and all that kind of stuff, and you want to be turning and turning, so you don't really want to do that. I'm just saying, if you decide to have, you can use this as a worm farm. This is a nice setup to have a worm farm. Even sliding out the the planks so it allows you to build layers. Only thing I would do is have a catchment at the bottom to catch the liquid. You want to give them a bath, but here's the thing, you're not throwing food in there that's going to be compost. So you actually are buying food for the worms because they will eat it, and then they will have more and more of it, and you have a better liquid. Very different than if you take compost food from the kitchen and throw it in there. So it depends on how you want to set it up and how you want to follow through. But basically there are different layers so you can learn how to do. You want to learn how to blend the layers together, because if you put a green layer on top of another green layer, they all mash in together. That's why you have green and brown mixing together back and forth. So and the biochar goes in between everything, and that way they don't really become a thick mat. They do tend to break down, right? They will break down faster. Same thing. The animal manure is the one that has all the nitrogen in and all the biology to break down everything in it as well. And normally, like I said, normally this is a nice setup for worms, but it's a different reason why you would have worms in there again, right? Worms in this bin as opposed to worms in at your compost. I wouldn't have any worms in these bins, so this is for compost. I talked a lot about how to have your own worm bin. So remember the layer of rock dust is should be very, very thin. Think about this. Rock dust is a source of trace minerals, but it's also can be very toxic. Trace minerals in any large quantity, remember it's trace, tiny amount, is toxic. So if you have rock dust, you want to take a thin layer and only do it maybe once or twice in building your compost, because you could literally make it too salty for your compost. You only need a tiny amount. And the ideal way to do it is whenever you're getting animal manure, you get the rock dust, you add it to the animal manure immediately and sprinkle a thin layer of it. It controls odor, it controls flies, but what it does is that the rock dust, the minerals binds with the manure, or rather the manure, the biology and the manure binds with the minerals, see? When they bind up, that means that when you're making your compost, then it'll get released in your compost making process, and you have a richer compost with richer sources of trace minerals. I call them your boosters. I remember to always use filtered water. I talk a lot about using filtered water for when you're doing a worm farm, and this is almost very similar. You want to use filtered water because you're using a soil biology farm. You literally have a whole community of microorganisms in your compost, and you don't want to be killing it by using city water. It's water. A lot of people say, I make compost and I spray with water. What's wrong with my compost? Well, you're killing the compost with the city water. So if you're going to do that, get a garden filter that will filter out the city water when you're spraying the compost with it. Just like you do that with when you're making compost tea, or you're even doing a little earthworm farming. And it says your water is life for the microbes. But remember, city water has chemicals in it. So I should have said clean, healthy water is life for the microbes, not anything we want to call water, okay? Right? Let's just make sure you get that. Okay, let's see what else I got here. So you want to let it cook in a bin like that. It's just if you have 3 bins, basically you're going to take out the first one. When it gets full, you dump it into the second one. You start over again with the first one. By the time you get it full, you dump the second one to the third one, the first one to the second one, and you start again. And that's the process. And it depends on how long it takes you to go through that to fill up a bin. Sometimes you produce a lot. You're going to find you don't have enough time, because by the time it comes out the other one, it's not really done as well. Because a lot of these things take 30 to 90 days easy to start breaking down. 120 days easy. It depends on the breaking down process. I myself I bought a shredder. I think it was I forget the name of it already, but it was really one of the best shredders on the planet. They don't sell them anymore. I would take everything I use and run it through the shredding machine, and that speeded up the breaking down process. And within 30 days, I had rich, beautiful compost. So there's a bin. This is the process for the bin. You get the bin is a fresh layer. The second bin is going to start curing. By the time you put in the third bin, is almost finished to use. Again, it depends on the length of time. And you see, for this particular bin, you put the screen around it, so at least more air goes through. Keeps animals from coming in as well, but mainly the air comes through. And the only problem is when it rains, you got to cover it, right? And by rotate, you can go in there and turn it over. You can turn it. The more you turn it over inside each bin, the better. So when one's full, you dump it in the next one. Each bin you can turn over. You can easily get in there and turn it over without having to go out. The more you turn it over, the better, the faster it'll cook. And eventually, when you're done, you're going to have excellent compost to start using in your garden, which is one of the things you want to do. We'll talk more about how to make compost tea and stuff like that. Shows coming up. So I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, keep composting and share. I want you to see if you mark the like button, right? Tell people, and then comment. Tell me what you think. So follow, share, and like. Thank you very much. Bye now. It's been great. I'm Andy Lopez. Thanks for hanging out with me on Talks with the Invisible Gardener. If you like what you heard, hit follow, drop a like, and leave a comment. I actually read them. Want more good dirt? Visit invisiblegardener.com. And remember, don't panic, it's organic.